Hi y'all, I'm not dead. Well, at least not yet. After a year of not uploading, it feels good to be back uploading this type of content on my channel again. At this point last year, I planned to upload the 2024 Xfinity driver ratings, but due to me being an idiot and not preparing, I ultimately scrapped the video altogether. And I figured that it would be appropriate that the video I was meant to upload last year was uploaded this year as a way to put together this puzzle of sorts. But the difference is that I'm doing Xfinity driver ratings for a different season. Recently, the 2025 Xfinity Series season came to a close, and outside the season being interesting, let's say, the drivers I'll be talking about either impressed or fell on their asses. So today, I'll be going over these drivers. 25 as a matter of fact, the actual 25 and 25. The initial list was 28 drivers, but after Chris Wright, Josh Williams, and Matt DiBenedetto dropped out of running full-time, 25 drivers were left to go over. But before I talk about these drivers, my only criteria is that the list will be in numerical order for simplicity's sake. I'll be talking about drivers who made an attempt to run every race without being let go and running the remainder of the schedule. DNQs, injuries, and suspensions are fine, but being let go mid-season or at any point at all disqualifies a driver, like the aforementioned Chris Wright, Josh Williams, and Matt DiBenedetto. Though, if I were to say anything about these drivers, it would be this. Chris Wright was ass, Josh Williams was unfortunately ass, and Matt DiBenedetto had a cool Viking helmet. He was also kind of ass. Lastly, the grades in question go from A+ for the best to an F for the worst. These are all my thoughts, and I want to see what y'all think about these drivers too. If there was a driver rating I was wrong on, please let me know, and what verdict you would give them in the comments, I guess. But with all that out of the way, now's the time I go ahead and rank all 25 drivers from the 2025 Xfinity Series season.
Alright, I get it!
My thoughts on Sheldon Creed are exactly the same as Truck Series driver Tanner Gray. When will they win a race? Sure, Plankton winning a race has been a cruel joke ever since he got to RCR in 2022, but what was also concerning was his consistency. Last year with Joe Gibbs Racing, Sheldon put together his best season up to that point. He scored 16 top 5s and 23 top 10s with an average finish of 11th. He had one of the best seasons to not end up in victory lane, as he also ended up with 6 runner-up finishes. So with that amazing season, it seemed like 2025 would be the year where he finally obtained the secret formula. For this year, he was racing for a revamped Haas racing team, and Sam Mayer was his teammate for the first time since 2020. So how did it go? On one hand, it wasn't bad, but it also left a lot to be desired. But I guess that's what happens when a team revamps itself. He still had great results, which included 2 runner-up finishes at Martinsville and Bristol, but they were less frequent. He was also more wreck-prone, as he had 8 DNFs this year. While his teammate was running 3rd in the regular season standings for most of the season, the last time Sheldon was top 5 was the April race at Darlington. With the Haas racing team switching to Chevy and forming a technical alliance with Hendrick Motorsports, things could improve for good old Sheldon. By the way, if y'all are wondering why I'm calling Haas factory team the Haas racing team, it's because I want a team name with HRT as its initials. Thank y'all for hearing me out. Here's the next driver.
Carson Daly here. Welcome. September 14th, 1998.
Out of all of the drivers in the championship 4, Carson Kvapil's appearance was the one that felt odd. I mean, he was running top 10 in points all year long compared to the other 3 who were inside the top 5 in points. Don't get me wrong, he had a decent first full-time campaign, but I felt like it was just that, a decent season. Though, he did show flashes of brilliance, almost winning at Coda, Bristol, and Atlanta showed his 2024 Dover result wasn't just a fluke, that he was capable of winning races. Keyword is was because he did go winless this year if it wasn't obvious already. That being said, him winning a race next year isn't a matter of if, but only a matter of when. He will be back full-time with Junior Motorsports, but he's not going to be in the 1 car every race. Those slots could either go to the number 9 or number 98 entries. But in the meantime of this upload, welcome back 2023 Todd Gilliland.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on!
Now onto the only likable RCR Xfinity driver. Pinkman may have not won 4 times like his teammate, but at the very least he's been keeping himself out of trouble. He also showed his strengths at tracks that aren't super speedway drafting ones. Top 5s at Vegas, Pocono, Dover, and Iowa showed that he could possibly win non-super speedway races. And he would actually do so for a championship clinching win at Phoenix. Yeah, he won the championship. Thank God the playoffs has been nominated to the Dock of Shame. He also won a race at Rockingham before his car failed post-race inspection, handing the win to second place Sammy Smith. Having said that, I think Pinkman is ready to take the next step up and win multiple races. Sure, he won 2, but I believe he could win more. But I still can't wrap my head around the fact that he won a championship over his bestie. Don't get me wrong, he was a top 5 driver for the entire regular season, but other drivers were better than him, like his bestie. That's why he doesn't get an A+, because he wasn't the outright best driver this season, despite having his own best season as a result.
You've taken F to a new level.
Alpha Prime Racing bringing back the number 4 that JD Motorsports once ran was a nice sight to see. However, what was an eyesore was Parker Retzlaff's performance with his new team. Unfortunately, this hasn't been an isolated incident, as he was coming off of his first awful season last year with Jordan Anderson's team. I was expecting things to improve, but unfortunately, it was more of the same. The difference, and not a good one, was that he DNQ'd at COTA just a week after contending for the victory at Atlanta. Mr. Crocker's season as a whole was so painful to watch when you realize that just 3 years ago, he showed a lot of promise in his part-time efforts outside of his mechanical failures. I still remember him finishing top 10 at Richmond, where he beat one of his future teammates for that spot. And don't get me wrong, he still had good runs like that runner-up finish at Rockingham along with 3 top 10s. But that's the problem, as he had 3 top 10s this year compared to the 4 the year prior. It just sucks, because just 2 years ago he finished a decent 16th in points, and it makes me wonder, will Parker finally run consistent and get back on his feet, or will he be like Perch Perkins and be an Xfinity lifer with subpar results? Hi, this is me the next day, and a few hours ago, it was announced that Parker Retzlaff would be joining Viking Motorsports for the 2026 season, and I'm a little bit conflicted on that. I mean, Don Sackett described the move as the next step in Viking's journey, while I'm like, yeah, it's not a bad move, but is Retzlaff gonna take you anywhere? I mean, he's been having consistently bad years, but maybe something will change in 2026. Who knows? He could be that diamond in the rough that Don Sackett was just aching to sign as soon as he was a free agent. But either way, I hope that Retzlaff finds his sliver of success at Viking Motorsports. And if not, I have a strawberry Pop-Tart nearby me, so what else do I need to expect? Defending champion Justin Allgaier had a very fruitful 2025 season. Back in 2022, I said that Allgaier was on pace to have his best statistical season, even though 2016, 2018, and 2019 exist apparently. This year, he was on pace to score more wins, top 5s, and top 10s. In the first 17 races last year, his average finish was a 14.4, but this year, his average finish was 17.2. If there was a season where Justin Allgaier pulled off his best statistical year, it would have been this year. Well, that would be the case if his average finish at season's end wasn't anything more than a 12.3. Honestly, after looking at that result, I kind of realized that Allgaier did a bit better compared to last year. Last year, he only had 2 wins, Darlington and Michigan. This year, he won 3 times, scored 5 more top 5s, yet had the same amount of top 10s. His average finish in 2024 was also a 13.5 compared to the aforementioned 12.3 this year. He also led more laps compared to the previous 4 years. He led 1,008 laps in 2020, and in 2025, he led 1,056 laps, which I think is incredible. It shows that he's showing up at these races and contending while one of his teammates is lighting up the charts. No matter the case, Allgaier had himself a great season. Not as good as one of his teammates, but still showed why he belonged in that series, as if he already wasn't an Xfinity lifer to begin with.
Not Samuel.
You know how people have a personal vendetta against Alex Bowman for being the 4th best Hendrick driver? Well, I do have a similar vendetta, but against another driver. In his second stint with JR Motorsports, I can't really say that Sammy Smith improved. Sure, he won earlier on in the season and had somewhat better results, but that's not saying much when he was, 8th in points before the playoffs is not bad for Sammy Smith. I mean, he isn't an awful driver, as on his own, he's a top 10 threat. He had 1 more top 5 and 1 more top 10, along with a slightly better average finish. But to think that it was just a slight improvement is kind of disappointing when you realize the team he's driving for is Junior Motorsports. The team that saw 3 of the 4 drivers make the championship 4, and Sammy wasn't one of the 3. Albeit Carson was also undeserving too, kinda. Honestly, The day I get a massive serotonin boost will be the day Sammy Smith has a breakout year. Even if he doesn't in 2026, I think he could win a race, yet still be up at the front with better results and better consistency. But only time will tell, because these words that I'm saying right now are starting to turn into an edible product.
I'm dying! My hair green! Haha, gotcha!
Now let's talk about some Kaulig racing drivers, starting off with the first of the two rookies, Daniel Dye. After a relatively fruitful Truck Series stint with McAnally, Mikey Waltrip's favorite driver moved up to the Xfinity Series for the full 33 race schedule. The start of the year looked promising as he seemed to be a shoo-in to make the playoffs. I know it's silly to look back on, but I believe that he could actually make the playoffs, and he was looking good. However, the last time I wrote this script was around the beginning of May when he was 13th in the regular season standings. And after the season ended, where do you think he finished in points? Yikes. I don't even know if this is a hot take, but I genuinely think he did worse than Josh Williams' first full-time campaign with Kaulig. Josh wasn't that great all season as he was as high as 17th in points. Meanwhile, Daniel looked like someone to take a Kaulig car into the playoffs early on, and then just fell off a cliff in the remainder of the schedule to the point where he got beat by Brennan fucking Poole and Eric Almirola. Thank God he's moving down to the trucks next year because it will give him an opportunity to regain momentum. Overall, this might genuinely be one of the worst rookie seasons I have seen from any driver in all top 3 divisions of the sport. He went out of the gate as a playoff favorite, and then by the time the season ended, he was 20th in points. Now that was an awful fall off. At one point during the season, Eckes said that this was the season from hell, and I didn't believe him at first. Don't get me wrong, it was a weird season, but it was nothing like Josh Williams' first stint with Kaulig, or Daniel Dye's shitty rookie campaign. Like, he was okay in his first full-time stint, as he pretty much was the best full-time driver for Kaulig. 13th in points honestly isn't bad looking back, because after all, this was his first full-time stint with a big team. I'm sure that there was a point where he was bad, and don't get me wrong, he had low points, especially around the midpoint where he was 16th, 18th in points. But after some good runs, he wound up 13th in points, even beating the Townhouse, who seemed like a lock for that position. I'm sorry that I don't have much else to say about Eckes' season, other than he climbed his way back to finish decently in points. But this next driver would go on to do a lot of scraping and climbing to where he eventually finished in points. Well, way before the injury.
Welcome to the Minnesota Ice Castle. It's really cold and changes colors.
Willie Sandwich's introduction to full-time Xfinity Series racing was a very rocky one. The start of the season was really awful as he was as low as 28th in points around race 11 at Talladega. It seemed as if anything that could go wrong did go wrong for the man out of Minnesota. And I still remember at Darlington, in the Kyle Busch throwback, Willie Sandwich took to the track and finished outside of the top 30. Yeah, but around Sonoma time was when he started to turn his season around. Arguably his best run of the season was at Portland, where he was runner-up to Connor Zilisch. The way he did so was interesting, but even then he was still making strides compared to the start of the year. Sure, he finished 26th at Watkins Glen and DNF'd at Talladega, but he still ran up front in those races before his cars got totaled to shit. Also, that Talladega crash sidelined him for the last 2 races on the schedule, which honestly sucked because he was most likely going to end up 16th in points at year's end. On one hand, he did have a bad year, but genuinely, it could have been so much worse. As for a portion of the season, he was outside the top 20 in points. For him to be able to find his form and climb into the top 20 in the standings is honestly a commendable effort, and because he's back racing with JGR next year, it makes me look forward to him making a bid for a playoff spot.
Man, you ever take off that fire suit?
I sleep in this thing.
However, on the contrary, there's Brandon Jones. After 2 disastrous seasons with Junior Motorsports, he returns to Joe Gibbs Racing for the first time since 2022. And for the first time since that same year, he would win a race at Darlington in the Matt Kenseth throwback. And for the first time since 2020, he has a multi-win season as he took the checkered flag in first at Kansas in September. These wins were great, and his bid in the round of 8 was also commendable, as well as him finishing top 5 in points for the first time in his career. It hasn't been a perfect season, but at least it's one where bigger things are sure to come. Oh boy, you know what time it is. But before all that, I have some good things to say about him, believe it or not. Being top 5 in points during the regular season while also taking 4 wins on the season shows us that, at least to me, he's more than a super speedway merchant. Now I could have said all that and ended off the segment, but unfortunately at the age of 31, he did a lot of damage to his competitors and his reputation. He was already maligned before the season started, but in 2025, he took things to the next level. Beginning at the spring Martinsville race where he sent Christian Eckes in a Jesse Love and into an already damaged Carson Kvapil. After this race, Austin apologized for his actions and vowed to lead by example. And for the next 4 months, he kept himself clean until Indianapolis. In this race, he intentionally right-hooked Eric Almirola into the outside wall in turn 4 after Almirola simply got Hill loose. After a week's suspension, he was back in action at Watkins Glen. And while he didn't intentionally wreck Michael McDowell, he did cause a massive wreck and took out a lot of contenders. Ultimately, Austin Hill was the reason why he didn't make it to the round of 8 because of the suspension. You know how racing is just a bunch of coulda, woulda, shoulda? Well, I've had these thoughts on Hill. What if he believed what he was saying at Martinsville? Would he go out and right hook Eric Almirola at Indianapolis? Would he be able to make the round of 8 with a good points cushion? And lastly, would he have not been able to compete for the championship had it not been for his shenanigans? At the end of the day, Hill seriously needs to reevaluate himself, or else he could have a repeat season. Oh yeah, I forgot something. At season's end, he finished 6th in points despite missing the round of 8, but it still doesn't change the fact that he got in his own way this year. Austin Hill can be a good driver, but when he does something stupid like he did at Indianapolis, he makes himself look like an absolute joke.
And that's your weekly Harrison Burton update. He will no longer be spoken about ever again on this show.
After a dumpster fire season with Haley Deegan and a slew of other drivers, AM Racing is looking better than they have in previous years with their new driver, Harrison Burton. Harrison dropped down to the Xfinity Series for the first time since 2021, and in his first season back, he did a pretty good job. He did better than Brett Moffitt, who finished an impressive 15th in points in the team's first year. So after a season like Moffitt's, the next step would be to win or to make the playoffs. In 2024, neither happened, but this year, Harrison made the playoffs on points. He wasn't as impressive as he was in his rookie season with Gibbs in 2020, but he still showed what the AM racing car could do, and it makes me pissed that Harrison isn't going to be with the team next year. I was hoping he would stay because I believe that he could give the team their first win in 2026. I mean, what other driver could be signed to fill the 25 car in 2026? Oh. Honestly, who cares? He's driving for Sam Hunt Racing next year and could possibly give the team its first victory. And speaking of Sam Hunt Racing,
Thompson Automotive. You don't just buy a car, you buy a car.
After 2 less than desirable seasons in Tricon's number 5 entry, Dean Thompson moves over to the 26th Sam Hunt Racing entry in the Xfinity Series. His season is one that fascinates me because outside of his 2 starts the year prior, Thompson was actually pretty decent this year. He floated around the upper top 20 and lower top 15 range in points all season, and he would wound up 16th in points, which was 1 spot better than the previous driver Kaz Grala. I know it isn't much, but for Thompson's first full-time season, it's a decent start to his Xfinity Series career. A lot of his runs really caught my eye, which included Rockingham when he won a stage and when he finished top 10 at Bristol. He would end up with 1 top 5 and 8 top 10s and a better average finish than Grala. Though I am a little concerned about his 2026 season, as in 3 of his last 5 starts, he finished no better than 28th. Still though, with a teammate like Harrison Burton joining the team next year, maybe 2026 will be the year the team finally gets their first win after many chances.
It's him! It's Jebediah Townhouse!
Oh yeah, he back alright. The man, the myth, the Townhouse, or whatever nickname he goes by nowadays. The start of the season was outstanding as he took the Jordan Anderson Racing 27 car to 9th in the regular season standings at one point. He showed a lot of promise at the start of the year with 3 straight top 10s and a boatload of top 15s. But around Atlanta to Chicago time, his performance started to drop off. Outside of Indianapolis, Portland, Martinsville, and the Roval, he wouldn't finish inside the top 15 for the rest of the season. And on top of that, in the second Daytona and Talladega races, he was driving like an absolute moron. I'm just gonna be honest. Also at Martinsville, he had a run-in with Sam Mayer, which resulted in him being turned into the wall past the start-finish line, which sucks because in that same race, he rebounded back from a spin to finish 6th. I need to take a moment to say, he got mad over a simple bump and run. He acts like a bump and run would end your day, even though he rebounded back and finished better than Mayer. If I was Townhouse, I would be more focused on celebrating a top 10 result and jump into a swimming pool because genuinely, it would feel more fulfilling. The thing about Townhouse is his driving style is kind of all over the place. He can be resilient like the aforementioned run at Martinsville in the fall, or a lesser known one, Darlington in the spring. He can drive smart like he did at the end of Portland. But when he's not these two things, he is absolutely painful to watch and further fuels the hatred from the fans. I just hope he can refine himself in time for 2026. But as for the season itself, finishing inside the top 15 points is in all honesty an improvement compared to his disastrous 2024 campaign. But to think he could have made the playoffs this year on points alone just makes the season more frustrating. He was amazing at the start of the year, but kind of ended off on not the right page, which is why he gets a C.
It's me, Super Luigi, on the Xbox One.
For the first time in my driver rankings, I actually get the chance to talk about Kyle Sieg's season. I was planning on talking about him during my 2023 ratings before scrapping them entirely. But now, because he ran every single race, I actually get to talk about him. And to say that he impressed would be a lie, kinda. He showed flashes when he almost won a stage at Homestead, finished 11th at Las Vegas, finished stage 1 inside the top 5 at Darlington, he finished 9th at Atlanta, and finished top 15 at Talladega late in the year. But arguably his best run of the season came at the season finale at Phoenix, where he finished 7th in stage 1 and finished 12th in the race itself for Ryan Sieg's car. He showed his flashes, and he did finish top 25 in points. Other than that, he was kind of an afterthought this year, as I would frequently forget about him on track. Then he would be in a crash and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about him. Even then, he was this year despite his flashes of brilliance. He was alright this year. Just gonna be real, he was okay. Despite his flashes. Despite his excellent flashes, though.
I do not like the look of this.
I've been a Perkins fan ever since the end of the 2021 season, and as someone who roots for him, or at least rooted for him, I can confidently say that I was around for his 2022 bad season, his depressing 2023 campaign, his underwhelming 2024 season, and lastly, another dismal year in 2025. Sure, he scored 4 top 10s at both Talladega races, Coda, and Portland, but by no means was he running consistently, as he ended up 26 in points at season's end. Sure, the 31 Jordan Harrison car hasn't been the greatest car for the team, but I never thought that they could sink so low. And it makes me wonder, does Perch want the best for his career? Is he perfectly content with drowning below 25th? There's a difference between being a pay driver and being a pay driver with a brain. Lawless Allen dropped down to Venturini and Arca and managed to win at Talladega. Or when Cole Custer dropped down to the Xfinity Series in 2023 and won the championship that year. At this point, Perch is 25 years old, and if he wants the best for his career, he should probably look at other options like the Cars Late Model Tour or the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, a series where one can bounce back, just look at Ty Majeski. Or he can race locally, something he did in 2019 after a limited ARCA program the year prior. I just want something where Perch can run well and not just win races. However, if he does stick it out in Xfinity, will he have a decent ride and not just one and done deals, or will it all just be one and done deals? Look, is Perkins a bad driver? Honestly, yes. He hasn't improved. And if he does show improvement, it's not much. But does that mean I'll stop rooting for him? Absolutely not. Even if my passion is slowly waning towards this guy, I still want the best for him regardless of where he goes next year.
Hello, it's me, Super Mario on the PS4.
2025 was looking to be Ryan Sieg's best season. If 2024 was a comeback, 2025 was looking to be a breakout year. When I first wrote the script, he was sitting a solid 10th in the regular season standings, but after the race at Phoenix, he would wound up 15th in points. It sucks because he seemed like he was destined for that eventual first career win, but in 2025, he took a small step back. Just like Townhouse, his season wasn't awful or anything, but to miss the playoffs when it seemed like he was going to be a shoo-in is kind of disappointing. At least he's no Daniel Dye, that's for sure. But unlike Townhouse, it wasn't a comeback season for Sieg as he wound up 15th in points compared to 13th the year prior. Other than that, I guess it's great that he's still pulling a streak of consistent top 15 points finishes minus 2023. Other than that, will 2026 finally be his year? I asked that question because I heard a rumor that Ryan Sieg's team will be switching to Chevy, and numerous times in 2020, He nearly picked up that first win like Kansas and Talladega. It all depends on what happens next year because it's all just a possibility at the end of the day. I mean, who knows? In my dreams, he could win the season opening race at Daytona. God damn it, I hope that dream becomes a reality.
I am Sam. Sam, I am.
Despite only winning one race, Sam Mayer had a way more consistent year than 2024. Unlike last year, he scored his first top 10 in race 1, specifically a second place finish at Daytona. He scored 6 more top 5s and 8 more top 10s to boot. He was 3rd in the regular season standings for most of the season and has an average finish of 11.5 compared to 18th the year prior in 2024. I don't really have much else to say other than he was carrying Ford on his back and showed the strengths of HFT. But with a switch to Chevy and a technical alliance with Hendrick Motorsports for 2026, better things are on the horizon. I just wish he didn't finish 10th in points had Townhouse not played Ring Around the Ambulance at Martinsville.
So anybody that wants Alfredo sauce on their custard, you can come to this guy.
Contrary to his name, Fast Pasto was not fast this year, especially with a second-year Xfinity team. I still remember him placing top 20 in points, beating teams like JD Motorsports and DGM while competing for BJ McLeod. Last year, Leland Honeyman finished a rather unimpressive 22nd in points, and because of Fast Pasta's past history with backmarker teams, I was hoping that he would be the light at the end of the tunnel for this team. But I was wrong. 24th in points and finishing behind Josh Williams and Eric Almirola, who didn't run every race. It's not like he didn't have good runs because he did. Examples include Talladega, Texas, Pocono, and Gateway, and that's literally it. And given that Anthony goes from car to car every season, I'm making a prediction that he'll be going over to Jordan Harrison Racing, seeing as Townhouse is rumored to go to Colleagues Truck Series program. Grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. After all, he was rumored to be a part of Jordan Harrison's team in 2025 before he eventually competed for Young's Motorsports this year. But who knows? He also could race for, I don't know, Alpha Prime. It all depends on what 2026 materializes for this man.
I just filled an entire pool with runoff water from Lunchley and moldy Feastables.
I can't make up my mind about Brennan Poole. He finished top 20 in the standings, which is commendable, but when you realize that he finished 3 spots worse than the year prior, the commendability runs thin. He didn't have a bad season by any means, but I'm worried that Alpha Prime Racing peaked last year and we just didn't know until now. Honestly, he felt kind of irrelevant outside of Martinsville and Rockingham in the spring, and Chicago, Daytona, and Bristol in the summer. Once again, he wasn't awful, but he wasn't as good as last year's anomaly where he almost won Talladega.
Nickelodeon.
Lil Nicky had a weird season. Outside of me thinking that his move to Big Machine Racing reminded me of Bobby Hamilton's move to Andy Petree Racing in 2001, Nick didn't do too badly as he won at Atlanta in June, giving Big Machine Racing their first win since Tyler Reddick in 2022. Outside of his win, he did fine. He wasn't really impressing me, but for his first full season, I thought he did solid as he was top 15 for most of the season. He won and made the playoffs, but I can't help but think that something is missing, and I have no idea what it is. Being top 15 in points for most of the season is great, but I think it was the consistency that Parker Kligerman had the year prior that might have something to do with it. I genuinely don't know. That being said, Sanchez is returning to the 48 next year, and I have a feeling he could improve, or it could be sophomore slump.
Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have it in me to talk about Jeremy Clements' 2025 season. He is by far one of the drivers who I look forward to the least, as his career has been going downhill since 2022 before his eventual win at Daytona. Like before that win, he was 17th in points, which would have been the lowest points finish in his career had he not won that race and made the playoffs. And before y'all say anything, no, his 2013 season doesn't count, even though he tried ending it at the beginning of the season. But there are some differences compared to his 2024 campaign. Better average finish, less DNFs, more lead lap finishes, and more top 10s. The only 2 negative differences that's noteworthy was that he led less laps, but that doesn't compare to where he finished in points. 21st, a new career low. Something that I've noticed is that he drops down 1 position in points every year since 2023. Beginning in 23, he was 19th in points. In 24, he was 20th, and this year, he was 21st in the standings. That is both fascinating and unfortunate at the same time.
Yes, from my favorite tortured poets.
Taylor Gray's first Xfinity season got off to a tough start as he was 15th in the standings at one point, but at the halfway point of the season, he began to turn his season around. From him almost winning at Mexico City to climbing into the top 12 in the standings, things were looking up, and even though he missed the round of 8, his best highlight of the season would come later in October. After being dumped by Sammy Smith on the final lap of the spring race at Martinsville, he returned to the same track almost 7 months later and got redemption. He earned his first career win at the track that seemingly haunted him since last year. But after numerous times of being wrecked or pushed out of the way for wins at tracks other than Martinsville, Taylor Gray finally becomes a winner in NASCAR. Next year will be one to look out for him to possibly have a breakout season and win multiple races and be a threat for the championship. 2026 is looking good for Taylor, as there's nowhere else to go but up from here. Before I get into this next segment, I just want to say that I do not hate Ryan Ellis. Me personally, I think he's just a driver that I view in a neutral way. I don't see myself rooting for him, but I also don't see myself hating him anytime soon. I just question why the media has been hyping that man up to oblivion. Sponsor deals, and a lot of TV time. Possibly because of the sponsor deals. Hell, even Eric Estepp featured that man in one of his videos during the weekend at Kansas. I swear to God, that man could breathe and there would be a parade for this guy. Like, how does he do it? I want to know. I want to know what this dude does to attract all of these sponsors. And it also could be connections now that I think about it. Now, with all this exposure, you would think that Ellis will be lighting the world on fire with his racing performance, yeah? Well, just like Tony Breitinger, you'd be wrong, as he actually ended up 28th in points, the lowest points finish for a DGM car in the team's history. The last time they finished this low in points was in 2023 when Josh Williams finished 21st in the standings. And to add insult to injury, he still finished behind Matt DiBenedetto in points. So yeah, that's pretty bad. However, I'll give Ellis this though. He scored his first ever top 10 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was a big deal for him, as seeing as how it's been over a decade since he made his introduction to the Xfinity series, and it was a moment worth celebrating. But other than that, and outside of an 11th at Daytona, his season wasn't that good. He gets a D- because genuinely, what else am I expecting from Ryan Ellis of all people? This could be down to me not understanding the hype for this man, and hey, I'm not afraid of being wrong, but I'm afraid of not understanding. But one thing I do understand is that he's sponsored by Tableau TV. You don't have to tell me every race, Adam.
Yeah, let's go. You already know who it is.
And now, the best for last in this video, the one and only driver to have double-digit wins in the year 2025. Lord have mercy, Connor Zilich's first full-time season with Junior Motorsports reminded me of Jeff Gordon's 1998 season, and at points Davey Allison's 1992 season. The start of the year was okay. He got a win at COTA, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire. But after his injury at Talladega, he came back storming. Ever since Charlotte, his worst finish was 5th in 18 straight races. Even when he wasn't winning, he was still scoring top 5 runs. Even when he wasn't driving the 88, it still managed to win with Kyle Larson and Parker Kligerman behind the wheel. Even when he finished 23rd at Talladega and 9th at Martinsville late in the year, he still managed to scrounge another top 5 at the season finale at Phoenix. The only problem is that Jesse Love was 2 spots ahead of Zilisch in first place. Yet he was the one who ended up winning the championship at season's end. And all I have to say out of everything that I could say right now, I'm not surprised about anything. Congratulations. Anyway, back to Zilisch. While I'm a bit hesitant about his Cup Series endeavors due to his results, it still doesn't change the fact that Zilisch had one of the crazy seasons a driver could have in the second tier division. He was spectacular to watch from his ridiculously consistent streak of finishes and his battles with other drivers like SVG. I just hope that his Cup Series career is just as fruitful. But I'm keeping my expectations low because it is his first full-time year in Cup after all. But I do hope his Cup Series career does eventually yield results in the future. And just like that, all 25 drivers have been covered. I'm hoping that I'll be able to do this again, but for mid-season ratings in July. But at the end of the day, it is a plan after all. I was actually planning on doing mid-season driver ratings back in July, but unfortunately, I was lazy and didn't even record it. I'm sorry that I haven't been putting out videos frequently in the past few months. Throughout the summer, I was questioning whether or not I was actually passionate about my content creation. It's been a weird time period in my life, but I'm hoping to release at least 4 more videos on the main channel the remainder of the year. As you might have seen in September though, I created a second channel for extra content and a VODs channel for all my live streams. There's only one live stream, but it's only in 2 parts. Hope y'all have been enjoying the content that I've been putting out on those 2 channels in the past 2 months. As much as I've been questioning my passion, I do enjoy putting out content because I love having that outlet to be able to do so. But as for the following uploads, next week's video was also one that I wanted to upload last year, but never got the chance because I didn't like the result. So just like driver ratings, why not upload a similar video, but about a different year? But this time, it'll be a 3-part series. I think y'all might know what's happening in the next 3 weeks.